My name is Clara. I have always moved through life quietly, observing more than speaking, listening more than judging. I am the kind of woman who notices what others overlook, the slight tremor in a hand, the hesitation in a voice, the subtle shifts that reveal the truth hidden beneath appearances. I have built my life around patience, careful planning, and quiet intelligence. My days are filled with routines I cherish, managing our home, guiding my children with gentle attentiveness, and tending to the small joys that make ordinary life bearable. People often mistake my calm for weakness, my restraint for passivity, yet I have learned that strength is rarely loud and rarely recognized until it is too late. The first morning of our vacation began with a soft golden light spilling across the terrace, the ocean stretching endlessly before us. I carried my notebook everywhere, recording the quiet rhythms of our surroundings, the way the sunlight caught the edges of the balcony railing, the distant cries of gulls, the subtle tension in my husband's shoulders that I had long learned to ignore. The vacation was meant to be an escape, a temporary reprieve from the routines and pressures of life, yet I felt a strange unease beneath the calm. Late that afternoon, I noticed his phone vibrating on the lounge chair beside him. He had left it slightly visible, as if by accident, though I knew better. The messages were there, succinct, intimate, casual in a way that betrayed their frequency and secrecy. I confronted him quietly, my voice measured, though my chest felt heavy with dread. He laughed, not softly, not bitterly, but with the cruel mirth of someone who delights in another's discomfort. He drew the children near, smiling as if to show that I was the absurd one, and called me paranoid, hysterical, and irrational. My cheeks burned, not with shame, but with the piercing heat of betrayal, magnified by the innocent eyes of our children, watching, absorbing the tableau I had never imagined I would be forced to perform. That laugh, deliberate and dismissive, crystallized a sudden clarity in me. It was not just his infidelity that struck, but the depth of his underestimation. He had believed my patience, my observation, and my composure to be weakness. In that moment, I understood with absolute certainty that he had gravely misjudged me. The nights after that confrontation were restless, though I did not move blindly through them. I traced his movements in my mind, replaying conversations, noticing the little inconsistencies, the half-truths, the silences that carried more weight than any words could. I watched him closely, cataloging habits, routines, and weaknesses with the deliberate care of someone assembling a puzzle whose solution had life-altering consequences. I did not obsess, I observed. I did not react, I prepared. Every message he sent, every small excuse became a piece of evidence in an invisible dossier I alone would complete. My secret weapon was knowledge, meticulous, organized, and waiting to be deployed. I began leaving subtle cues, invisible markers of my awareness, small breadcrumbs for him to notice but never fully understand. I observed his interactions with others, listening carefully, mentally noting patterns. Each time he displayed arrogance or assumed I was unaware, I recorded it mentally, building the framework for the strategy that would ensure his undoing. My patience, once mistaken for weakness, became a silent, formidable force. I did not need to confront him aggressively. I only needed to orchestrate the circumstances that would reveal the truth with absolute clarity, leaving him no room to deny or deflect. When the moment arrived, it was under the guise of calmness. I arranged an evening dinner by the water, casual, seemingly unremarkable, though every detail had been calculated. The staff knew nothing of our private lives, yet every movement, every placement, every glance had purpose. I had collected messages, photographs, and inadvertent confirmations from his acquaintances who had unknowingly documented his duplicity. Nothing I did appeared forced or confrontational. On the surface, I was composed, almost elegant, guiding the conversation with measured care. He laughed at the first hint of suspicion, confident in his control, certain that his charm and deceit could withstand even the smallest challenge. With each anecdote, each carefully revealed observation, I wove an invisible net around him. Facts, presented with subtle precision, spoke louder than accusations ever could. He faltered under their weight, though he did not yet recognize the full measure of his vulnerability. The children, who had once been uncertain observers, now began to see him with the clarity I had nurtured in quiet moments. Friends and acquaintances, having witnessed the cues I had planted, adjusted their perceptions without a word from me. I had not shouted, nor had I cried. I had merely let truth exist in its purest form, and it dismantled his illusion with an inevitability that left no doubt. By the end of that evening, the shift was undeniable. His charm and manipulative skill, once so reliable, now faltered under the silent, persistent weight of evidence. He remained present, but diminished, not through spectacle or humiliation I had enacted overtly, but through the quiet, methodical precision of a plan executed flawlessly. My satisfaction was not in vengeance, but in equilibrium, the restoration of dignity and authority that had been dismissed so carelessly. I had not needed to raise my voice or appeal to morality. The truth had spoken for itself, and the consequences were as inevitable as the tide. The days after that evening carried a lighter air, though they were tinged with reflection that left permanent impressions. I moved through the remaining hours of our vacation with deliberate grace, observing the ocean, the subtle movements of the sun, and the quiet shifts in those around me. He remained present, yet diminished, not through overt confrontation I had enacted, but through the quiet inevitability of the truth I had orchestrated. The children, once hesitant, now aligned with the reality I had created, leaned on me in ways they had previously been coaxed away from, and I embraced the responsibility with calm assurance. Returning home, the transition felt almost poetic. The house, once heavy with tension, now seemed lighter, filled with the invisible traces of the authority I had reclaimed. I carried with me the knowledge that my power lay not in spectacle or aggression, but in strategy, foresight, and subtle orchestration. I revisited my notebook from the vacation, pages filled with reflections, observations, and quiet resolutions. Each entry traced my journey from disbelief to awakening, from shock to deliberate action, and finally to the satisfaction of restored dignity. Grief had not defined me, it had catalyzed focus. My satisfaction was in recognition of the clarity and strength betrayal had forced me to embrace. Months later, I still revisit the patterns I had mapped, the orchestration of observation, and the inevitability of his exposure. It is not pride I feel, nor gloating, but a profound alignment with my own judgment and skill. The vacation had become a crucible, revealing the depth of my ability to navigate deceit, to act with foresight, and to reclaim authority over the narrative of my own life. I had emerged quietly powerful, attuned to subtle currents of human behavior, and unshakably sovereign within the domain of my existence. Betrayal had been a fracture, yes, but it revealed, simultaneously, the hidden reservoirs of resilience, intelligence, and strategy I had always possessed. The humiliation he had inflicted, meant to diminish me, became the very spark that illuminated my strength. I had moved through pain with precision, reclaimed dignity without spectacle, and emerged from deceit with a sense of equilibrium that was impossible to disrupt. My power was quiet, but absolute, rooted in foresight, patience, and the unassailable certainty of my own capability. Even now, as I walk through the rhythms of daily life, I carry that understanding with me. The ocean continues its tides, the sun continues its course, and I continue to move with the deliberate grace that has always been my anchor. Betrayal taught me that strength is quiet, strategy is invisible, and justice need not be loud to be absolute. I had reclaimed my world not through anger, but through the careful application of intelligence and the unshakable sovereignty of a woman who had been underestimated yet was finally fully awake to her own power.